This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Tasmania returned one of the highest votes for yes in the country, with 63.6% pledging their support for same-sex marriage. There were emotional scenes across the state this morning as the result was revealed. But those who have spent the last 2 months campaigning for no say they're concerned over threats to fundamental freedoms.
Same-sex marriage supporters watching with trepidation before learning how the nation and our state had voted.
Yes responses, 7,870,000.
A collective sigh of relief following months of intense campaigning.
This has got a lot of emotion built up in it, quite a bit of, anxiety that's been built over 5 or 6 years.
We all play a part in making change, in making history.
We'll have to send out the save the date card soon.
Rodney Croom was arrested nearly 30 years ago for his activism for gay rights in Tasmania. For him and those he's continued to advocate for, today has been a long time coming.
The nation embraced them. I was thinking about them and how important this is, not just for the achievement of marriage equality, but for them to feel that they belong in the nation that they call home.
It's overwhelmingly good. It's affirmation, it's respect.
This is how Tasmania voted. Denison's support was 74%, Franklin 69%, Lyons 59%, Bass 62% and Braddon 54% in favour.
Of course, our move in the Tasmanian Parliament did help to build momentum behind this national campaign, but ultimately this is the result we wanted. We want national laws. We want every Australian to be treated equally.
Personally, I'm delighted that Australia has said yes, and I think it's a good thing for our country.
The legislation will now be debated in federal parliament. Religious leaders and no campaigners calling on the government to take their concerns of parental rights, school curriculum and religious freedoms into consideration.
If you look at polls, they show that the same people who might have voted yes also would vote yes to protecting freedoms as well. So that's an important thing.
That both protects people's rights without discriminating against people, but at the same time being able to help people who have a conscience matter in this, particularly those who work in the wedding industry.
I think many parents would want to be assured that if they send their child to a Catholic school, that the Catholic school will indeed enshrine and teach Catholic understanding about the nature of marriage and family.
But for today, celebrations will carry on across the nation.
Yeah, I certainly think we'll have a few drinks.
And we are voted to rejoin that company of nations that values equality for all their citizens.
Yeah. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Former Tasmanian Senator Jackie Lambie has arrived back in the state after resigning from the Senate yesterday because she's a dual citizen. It's still unclear who will fill the now vacant seat. Next in line is Devonport Mayor Steve Martin. He ran on the Jackie Lambie Network Senate ticket at the 2016 federal election. He's currently on the Gold Coast and says he will announce if he'll fill the position when he returns home tomorrow. If Mr Martin declines, Jackie Lambie could potentially make a return to Parliament sooner rather than later, as it would create a casual Senate vacancy which would be filled by a nominee of the Jackie Lambie network. If the former independent senator renounces her citizenship, she could nominate herself. Ms Lambie has made it clear she wants to return to the Senate. A Launceston man has been sentenced to 3.5 years jail for failing to report the killing of a person. Cody James Lee pleaded guilty to the charge in Launceston's Supreme Court earlier this week. He was today sentenced by Acting Judge Pierre Slicer. The judge also made a suppression order on the facts of the case due to legal reasons. Lee will be eligible for parole after serving 2 years and 6 months. The ratepayers of Glenorchy will be going to a January election, with the upper house backing the government's moves to sack the council. In another development in the saga today, the full court rejected an appeal which had been blocking an investigation into the council.
The suspended Mayor of Glenorchy was all smiles as she walked out of court.
So I'm really pleased today that the full bench of the Supreme Court have dismissed Peter Brooks's appeal. This hopefully will mark the end of any legal challenges to the Board of Inquiry, and finally justice is served for the Glenorchy community.
The Board of Inquiry was called to investigate the operations of the council with concerns of dysfunction. In a long-running legal battle, General Manager Peter Brooks has been fighting against the Board of Inquiry, claiming it was biased against him and didn't provide procedural fairness. The full court today siding with an earlier judgment, rejecting his appeal and allowing the release of the inquiry's report.
With no further legal challenges, hopefully the Board of Inquiry report will be in the hands of the community very soon.
Glenorchy's situation has required this Board of Inquiry. The fact that we're still in the courts today shows the level of that dysfunction and fundamental disagreements between the parties.
The government is pushing special legislation to enable fresh elections even before this report is delivered. Governance experts say it's unprecedented in Tasmania.
This is unusual. Normally, governments would wait for a Board of Inquiry report before sacking a council, because that report provides the legal basis for that sacking.
With the upper house backing the move late today, an election is set for January 16. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Emergency services swarmed on a busy shopping strip this afternoon, responding to a crash. A car involved in the collision blocked one lane of Augusta Road at Lenna Valley as emergency crews worked on the scene. There were no serious injuries and the crash was cleared within half an hour. Environmentalists say they're sceptical about the latest plan to export wood chips from the state's south. Southwood Fibre says its main focus is on plantations, but hasn't ruled out chipping native trees covered by Australian forestry standards.
Southwood Fibre says its $42 million investment will create 135 jobs during construction and support 145 when complete. It plans to build a wood chip loading facility in waters near Dover, after chipping the trees near its current processing site in the Huon Valley. CEO James Neville-Smith says the development will be discreet compared to Gunn's former wharf at Triabunna.
We're building a dedicated wood chip loading facility, which is a conveyor that goes out to a small Tina section with a loader and some dolphins in the water for the vessels to attach themselves to.
Mr Neville-Smith says he's confident his proposal will receive widespread community support and won't rely on taxpayer subsidies. He says it's plantation-based and only certified chips will be exported.
I think a lot of the wood going through this process will be FSC, but we respect and stand by Australian Forest Standard certification wholeheartedly, and so I've always said that we don't discriminate between either of the two certification schemes.
But not everyone's happy. The Wilderness Society says it's highly sceptical about Southwood's proposal. Vicar Bailey says it's too close to threatened species habitats, and contentious trees remain a no-go zone in world markets.
If the government is successful in reversing 356,000 hectares of beautiful forests across Tasmania, they'll be going out through wood chip facilities such as this. AFS certification is clearly not adequate.
Southwood's development application is now in the hands of the Huon Valley Council. Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
The Steve Waugh Foundation says it has raised $1.3 million from this year's Captain's Ride. The figure is well beyond the event's $1 million target. Organisers say donations remained steady throughout the six-day ride, which crossed Cradle Mountain and the West Coast before finishing in Hobart. The money goes towards helping children with rare diseases. Fine wine connoisseurs are raising their glass to Tasmania's top drops. The effervescent Tasmanian Sparkling Festival kicks off tonight with a degustation dinner including matching wines at a waterfront restaurant. It's the first time the event has come to Hobart, spreading the love for our state's best bubbles.
Sparkling is a very versatile drink, and some of the events this weekend will show that. So there'll be sparkling wines served with each course of 4, 5 and 7 course degustation dinners to show that you can match sparkling with every course. The
festival continues until Sunday. Tasmanian firefighters are getting behind Movember. They're raising awareness for men's health issues by adding some additional equipment to their fire engines. Members of the Mobart Fire Brigade are also sporting the early signs of moustaches.
Some aren't quite as good, but I think that's half the point. Probably the worse they look, the more people start talking, really.
Movember covers all issues surrounding men's health, whether or not that's just being fitter and healthier, or if it's tackling some of our biggest killers such as suicide or prostate cancer or bowel cancer or testicular cancer.
The Mobart Mobros are hoping to raise more than $130,000. A 78-year-old man has made it to Tasmania after sailing solo around the world for the 10th time. But John Sanders' journey isn't over just yet. He's only in the state visiting a friend and will soon be back on the water heading home.
13 months after setting sail from Australia, John Sanders is taking a well-deserved break in the Appalau. He began circumnavigating the world solo last October, only a year after undergoing open-heart surgery.
Gives me something to do, because what else do I do? Knowing me, still in a bar stool in a yacht club bar.
The 78-year-old travelled from Western Australia to South Africa, Brazil and through the Panama Canal, taking in all kinds of conditions before heading back down under.
Probably like to stop the British Virgin Islands best.
And while he spends hours at sea, he says he never gets bored.
There's always something to do, and it keeps you fit. There's always the radio, there's the talking books, there's the books.
A beauty point stopover wasn't always on Sanders' itinerary, but with encouragement from a good Tasmanian friend and some bad weather forecast, he added in a quick visit.
I just think he's absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, he's an inspiration to anybody that wants to do something.
John will leave the state on Sunday. He expects it to take a bit over a month to get back home to Fremantle with a few stops in between. And as for whether he'll do an 11th world trip...
I can't really afford it. I'd have to sneak out and not tell the family. Maybe if I got the boat to Mauritius, I might have to ring the family up and say, send more money.
It's believed Sanders is now the oldest single-handed sailor to circumnavigate the world. Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed lower after sharp falls in oil and base metal prices weighed on energy and mining companies. The ASX 200 has dropped by 34.5 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 75.85 US cents and 85.91 Japanese yen.
Alex Doolan has put Tasmania in control of its Sheffield Shield match against Victoria. Doolan smashed 247 not out against the Blues, which is the highest first-class score of his career. George Bailey and Tim Payne produced half-centuries before the Tigers declared with a commanding 452-run lead. In reply, the Blues are 2 for 67 heading into day 4. Some of the nation's best at orienteering are gearing up to compete at the National Championships next March. The 2018 event is set to take in some of Tasmania's most iconic locations and is already attracting interest among international athletes.
It's a big sport keeping a low profile, until now, with the state set to play host to over 800 orienteers next Easter. Among those competing is Briton Mark Purkis, ranked among the best in orienteering's European heartland. He's warming up for the challenge by passing his skills onto Tasmania's most promising juniors.
Orienteering is a very European-focused sport, so whenever the Aussies come over and do really well, it's a bit of an eye-opener because we think, oh, in Europe, we know what's going on, but some of you guys are pretty strong too.
The Easter Carnival ends with a 3-day event near the Bay of Fires. Organisers say it's a chance to showcase some of the state's best terrain.
There's fantastic old tin mining from the 1920s, which has old overgrown dams and gullies and things like that. So it makes for really exciting orienteering, really good navigating, and at the same time, because it's open forest, very good running.
And as the Aussies compete for bragging rights in the International Rules Series in Ireland, fans of the original Gaelic game are about to go toe-to-toe in Hobart. The Australasian Regional Championships will see local clubs from interstate take on Tassie's best.
We're confident that we'll be competitive, but this is a higher standard than we're used to. So
we're hoping our players will step up and meet the opposition head on.
Kick-off is from 8:30 Saturday morning at Alinda Grove Sports Grounds. Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
Movember will fly the flag for Tasmania at the biggest event on harness racing's calendar. The Longford horse leaves for Perth tomorrow to compete at the Inter-Dominion. Movember lost the final in 2015 and pulled out last year due to illness.
Just the way he can drive him, I think his gate speed on those small tracks at Gloucester Park, it just gets him into the right spots.
Qualifying begins next Friday. The Inter-Dominion has run annually since 1936. After winning his third national championship in a row, Formula V driver Wade McLean has received a major endorsement. The Tasmanian has been invited to drive in a higher class of competition, opening the door for a shot at the big time. Operating out of a garage in Devonport is a young driver, a remarkable record and now a golden opportunity. Next year, Wade McLean will race in Formula V's powerful 1600 class after a showstopper season in the lower 1200s division.
We only have the 1200 class here locally, and the 1600 class is sort of where the big guys race and get small notice.
If McLean proves himself behind the 1600's bigger engine, he will be in pole position for a spot in Formula Ford, the place where many V8 supercars drivers cut their teeth.
It's sort of the proving ground. You do get a fair bit of recognition.
McLean's big break comes after the 20-year-old claimed his third national title in a row, the Triple Crown, a record-breaking feat.
A lot of people have done 2 in a row, but no one's ever done 3 in a row in either the 1200 or the 1600 class, and the national title's been around since 1969.
Reaching Motorsport's mountaintop is a long, tough road. McLean's family doubles as pit crew and sponsors partly fund interstate trips. But going from prodigy to professional is the finish line in McLean's mind.
I'm very driven in where I want to be, and if I sort of set my sights on something, that's where I try and get to.
Formula V's next season starts in February.
Good evening. Hobart 28 degrees today, Launceston 29, and even though the residents tell me it does feel warmer, Burnie 21 and Devonport a top of 22. Campania the high with 33 as a warm day preceded a few showers and thunderstorms over the southeast. Most of the state still waiting for that change. Fingal 32, Ouse 31, Grove 30, Flinders Island 27, Strawn reached 26 today, Friendly Beaches on 25, Lyowini 23, St Helens 21 along with King Island. A large band of cloud with embedded thunderstorms is spanning territory from central Queensland all the way to our west coast. Isolated thunderstorms are over central WA with low cloud penetrating South Australia. Middle and high cloud today there on the west. Convective cloud developed over the southeast and east this afternoon. Tomorrow, the front clears Tasmania as a low develops over Victoria. A trough extends north over Queensland as the next high becomes dominant over the Bight. Winds south-southeasterly, 15 to 25 knots, more easterly over the north and reaching 30 knots over western and northern waters. Strong wind warning from southeast Cape to Eddystone Point. A showery day tomorrow for Hobart, 12 overnight, 16 the top, 16 also the high for Cygnet and New Norfolk with a few showers. Launceston, an early shower clearing, 22 the high, 21 for Devonport, shower or 2 for Campbelltown, 19. Burnie, a shower or 2, 21, 21 and showery for Strawn and Smithton. And for the east, a shower or 2 as well, increasing over Swansea, 18 for St Helens and Fingal, Swansea a top of 16. UV, all in the very high range. On Friday, showers over the northwest and early over the east, otherwise fine. A shower clearing the northwest and west in the evening on Saturday with fine partly cloudy weather for the rest of the state. A light morning shower over the northeast on Sunday with other regions mostly fine. A possible shower or storm in Perth and 36 degrees. Cooler and a shower or 2 in Adelaide tomorrow, 19. Actually, showers forecast for all the major centres tomorrow, including the seasonal storms over the territory. And a few showers over Hobart, 18 at the moment. The change yet to hit in the north, clear in Launceston, 24, Devonport partly cloudy, 18 degrees. I know we all like the sunshine, Joe, but the east coast of Tasmania has had below average rainfall for quite a long time. Let's hope they have a couple of rain events soon.
Yes, the next couple of days would be great. Thank you very much for that, Murph. That's all from the team for now. Thanks for your company. We'll see you a bit later. Bye-bye.